Hello, my name's Mike. I'm glad you can join us as we begin this walk through the Gospel of John, a first century account of the life of Jesus written by one of his closest friends. If you were to write the story of Jesus' life, I wonder where you'd begin. Maybe you'd start with the beginning of his public life and ministry as Mark does. Or maybe you take it back further to his birth and his early childhood as Matthew and Luke do. But John takes it right back to the beginning of everything, and begins with an epic opening to his book. Let me read to you from John chapter 1, verses 1 to 18. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision, or a husband's will, but born of God. The Word became flesh, and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. John testified concerning him. He cried out, saying, "This is the one I spoke about when I said, 'He who comes after me has surpassed me, because he was before me.'" Out of his fullness we have all received grace in place of grace already given. For the law was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in the closest relationship with the Father, has made him known. Well, it's an awesome beginning. At first, we don't even get told who this person is. He's identified as the Word, and he's there at the beginning of creation, of everything. The Word was with God. The Word was God. And everything is made through him. All of creation. Nothing's been made that wasn't made through him. He is the source of life. He is the source of light. And just as light shone in the darkness at creation, as we read at the beginning of the Bible, we're told that light has now come into the darkness of the world. The world here in John's Gospel, we'll see, is not just planet Earth, but it's that system of humanity that rebels against God, that rejects God. And yet this light, this life, has come into this world to shine the light of life upon us. The darkness has not overcome it. We see that, don't we? Switch on the light, the darkness goes. It cannot be light. Darkness cannot overcome this light, no matter how much it might try. Now, there's a bit of confusion In verse 6, there was a man sent from God whose name was John. Now it gets confusing because this book is written by John, but it's not the John he's talking about. In fact, whenever John refers to himself, he never names himself. He talks once or twice about the disciple whom Jesus loved, but he doesn't point to himself directly. He wants to point to Jesus. But here he's thinking of John the Baptist, a famous preacher at the time, who we'll read more about as the book goes on. But John the Baptist is someone sent by God to point people not to himself, but to the light, the one that was coming into the world, so that through him all might believe. John makes it clear here, he himself was not the light. Don't look at him. He came only as a witness to the light. He's pointing people to him. The true light, the genuine light, the real light, that ultimate light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. And what was the response when he came? Well, he was in the world. Though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. It didn't want to know him. He came to that which was his own, thinking here of the people of Israel. But his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Your name sums up everything about you, doesn't it? It's who you are, it's what you are. To those who believed in him, in the light, in the word, in God, he gave the right to become children of God. What an awesome privilege, what an awesome status. Children born not of natural descent. It wasn't dependent on what family you came from, nor of a human decision or a husband's will. Not born just because the father wanted children, but born of God. This is something God does, making men and women children by adoption. But he still hasn't told us who this word, who this light is. He says the word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have the word in the church, incarnation, putting on flesh, putting on meat. The word who was with God, who was God, took on human flesh, became human, lived among us, made his dwelling among us. That word dwelling is a word that's used in other places to mean a tent. In the Old Testament, the people of Israel used to meet with God at the tabernacle, at the tent of meeting, later in the temple. There was that sense that this is the place where we meet God. And what John's telling us here is that there's now a new place that we meet with God. And it's a person. It is the Word become flesh, made his dwelling among us, pitched his tabernacle here on earth. We have seen his glory, he says. He includes himself. He'd seen the glory of the invisible God displayed in the flesh. The glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. And he remembers back to John the Baptist again. Remembers John the Baptist saying, "This is the one I spoke about when I said, he who comes after me has surpassed me because he was before me." This one that I'm pointing you to, he was always there long before me. He's so much more important than me. Look to him. Out of his fullness, the fullness of the Word, the light, the Son, we have all received grace in place of grace already given. For the law was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. And now he finally tells us who this person is. The Word, God, Son of God, the light, the life is Jesus, the Christ, the Messiah, the promised King that they've looked for centuries. Grace had already been given in the Old Testament in the past, but now it's given in the fullness in Jesus. Jesus Christ is the Word, is the Son, is the one full of grace and truth. No one has ever seen God. We see that in the Old Testament. No one ever saw God full on. Moses saw the back of God as he passed by. Isaiah saw just the hem of his garment, and that was enough in the temple to make Isaiah think, woe is me. But here we're told, no one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in the closest relationship with the Father, has made him known. Jesus has come, the Word of God, the Son of God, the light of God. He's come in the flesh, come to live in this world among us, to make God known to us, so that we can see him, so that we can meet with him, so that we can become his children. It's an awesome beginning to an awesome book. I hope that you'll join us next time as we see what happens when John, the writer of this book, and others meet Jesus themselves. And one by one, they'll tell other people, come and see. Come and see who he is. Come and see this man who's told me everything about himself. And maybe like some others will say, we want to see Jesus.